fight my battle every day and succeed is that I've had to look inside myself and find a reason why I'm worth it and why I'm good enough. No matter how much is going wrong in my life, no matter how dissatisfied I am with what I see in the mirror, there are bigger things in this world, and the response that I've gotten from your peers, from sophomores, from kids confiding in me, trusting in me, writing about me, coming forth with their stories and being brave, it's so humbling. It makes me realize that there are bigger things in this world than the voice inside my head. And it's given me so much empathy, and what is so important for all of us to do to really change the dynamic in this school and change society is to judge less and recognize that as long as someone feels something, it's valid. You might not understand someone's source of anxiety, someone's source of stress, why they behave the way they do, why they engage in the behaviors that they do. But as long as they feel it, it really is real. And I've met people throughout this process who have come forward to me, someone who has, let's say, OCD, and they touch a door 7 times, or they want to flick a light switch on and off 7 times, because that's a typical behavior of OCD. And to me, I look at that person and think, wait, why do you care how many times you touch the door? But they might look at me and be like, why is that girl not eating her lunch, or why does she want to work out all the time, and why does she care so much about her figure or the way she looks? And it's all relative. And to judge another person, or to judge their struggle, or to think that this is just their identity, or that it takes up all of who they are, or that it's their personality, is a misconception. And my goal is to shatter the stigma and make everyone realize that you can be so successful, and that these people are everywhere. The people who have come out to me and shared with me, in my English class alone, 3 girls have reached out to me and shared with me that they're undergoing an eating disorder, and that's only in my English class, and that's only an eating disorder. And this stuff, these people, they're boys, they're girls, it's post-traumatic stress, it's OCD, it's anxiety, it's depression, and it's everywhere. And they're the people behind you, the people next to you, the people that look so happy, the people that laugh all the time. And so if we can make an environment where we can start this conversation and feel comfortable and not scared, and not like it's touchy, and not like you're treading on thin water, but if we can make it so that we can start to talk about this, and everyone will start to contribute to the conversation, and you'll be so surprised how many people will be like, oh wait, my mom goes through that, or my best friend does that, or I've had those thoughts before, or wait, I'm not the only one. And if people can start to feel less alone and more safe and more protected by each other and less judged, then the stigma will slowly start to go away, and we'll realize that there is no such thing as normal, that happiness is relative, and that what people do to make that tick and to make them go is their own personal journey. And that this stigma needs to go away because it's impeding people's abilities to heal. And the best way to heal is to talk about it, and is to be upfront about it, and to show your friends and stand by them and gain trust. Because when I went into this process of speaking into sophomore health classes and sharing my story, I mostly just thought I was paying it forward. I didn't really think I was going to get anything out of it. But the progress that I've made with my own disorder, because I'm healing others while I heal myself, and the way that I start to believe everything I'm saying, it's such an inward journey, and the power that you gain by helping others and elevating others and bringing others up is so monumental. And I know it sounds cliche, but being kind to others, or holding back that one comment, or judging less, or critiquing less, and just being a kinder person who's more open and more comfortable with what's going on around them, it will, if everyone starts to make an effort every single day, it really will make such a difference. And just one story I like to share that I learned through this process was after my movie aired, I had someone come up to me and say, oh my God, Sydney, your movie was great, it really did wonders, and I had no idea you had a mental health disorder. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And they're like, yeah, I just never would have thought you would have one. And I said, why? And they're like, because you're smart. And I said, what do you mean? And they're like, well, you're smart, I just didn't think you also had a mental disorder. And I thought, wow, this is a lot worse than I thought. Because for you to think that because I have a mental disorder, or a voice in my head that I undergo every day, that I can't go on to be successful in academics, or captain in soccer team, or the best friend, or the most social butterfly of the class found, that's just false. And you can easily be captain of the soccer team and have OCD, or be a successful student and have anorexia. There's no reason that because you're one thing, you're not the other. It doesn't define you, it's not who you are, and doesn't take up your identity. And I've embraced it in such a way that I feel like it's just a part of who I am, and I wouldn't change it for the world, because it gives me empathy, and it helps me view others with more compassion and more understanding, and allows me to help others learn about themselves, and it helps me learn about myself. And I'm at the point where I could talk to someone and say, I have brown hair, I have hazel eyes, and I have anorexia. It's just who I am. And it's nothing that I'm scared of or embarrassed by or ashamed of, because it makes me stronger every single day. And every single day that I conquer it, or that I go on to heal another person or make another person feel that much more comfortable or that much more safe, it's a day that I've succeeded. And I really just thank all of you so much, and especially the sophomores and the kids who have reached out and shown me that there is so much more in life and in this world than the little petty things I concern myself with, or the voice inside my head. And every single person, no matter how small you might feel or invisible you really are capable of changing someone else's life or making the difference in someone else's life. I mean, I didn't anticipate that this campaign was going to take the route it did, or that it would be as successful as it has been, but people who now are in therapy because I've helped them believe that they're worthy of seeking help, or the people who, have accepted their past. I've had people say, now at terms of my assault, and I'm brave enough and I'm going to talk to people about it, or I'm not in denial anymore. And that's just because I started the conversation. If we just become less weary of this as a subject, and less scared to talk about it, and have less fear of the unknown, we will all start to realize how prevalent it is, and how much one person caring, or one person standing by you, or trusting you, or taking the time to get to know you and to care for you if they see you're going through something, and never giving up on you, because that's so important, how much of a difference that can make in someone's life. And I don't think we realize the power that we have in everyone's life. And I would say 6 months ago, I would have been you sitting in the audience thinking, like, no, only pivotal people can change the world, and you have to have a lot of influence and power. It's just not true. You really can, just who you are. You are good enough, and you are worthy enough, and you do have the power to change other people's lives. If you first start within yourself and find a reason that you're good enough and that you're worthy of love and acceptance, you'll start to see it on everyone else. It'll project onto other people, and you'll start to feel like everyone else is worthy of happiness and health and good enough. And this society as a whole will just slowly start to change, and hopefully in Upper Dublin and just in the world, we can create an atmosphere where this is something that is acceptable and something that is comfortable, safe, and there's no more misconception of what normal is, and less pressure to be people we're not, and less pressure to keep this on the down low, because it's something that we should all own and accept, and as a society help each other heal, one story, one talk, and one ear at a time. We all open our hearts and minds and listen to each other.
Hi, I'm Jen. For my senior project and NHS projects, my goal was to research mental illness and understand how our generation has been so affected by it. I personally suffer with anorexia, anxiety, and depression, and I remember the first time I admitted to it was actually from Shred Love in Her Arms, and it was after the Jessie Rubin concert, and I sat there crying with my best friends and just saying, like, I need help, and like, I'm scared, and this isn't okay anymore. And I think that it's very scary, and I know that the first time I told my mom, she asked me if I was possessed, because she doesn't understand how I could hear voices in my head, and I'm not possessed. I don't hear voices. It's my voice, but it's my voice telling me things that I shouldn't be saying. It's telling me that I'm not good enough, and I'm not worthy of this, and I shouldn't eat this, and I'm not pretty enough, and I need to be smaller. And it's not like everyone hears these voices. I think if they're suffering with something and they just are too scared to admit it. I remember my first week in senior year, my English teacher was talking to us about college essays. She told us we shouldn't be allowed to write about mental illness. We shouldn't be allowed to write about the things we struggle with because it's embarrassing. The college people don't want to read about that. They don't want to hear about that because they don't care. And no one should care. They should be embarrassed about it. And I wrote my college essay on my anorexia and not going to treatment. And it's nothing to be embarrassed of. I've relapsed multiple times. I've gone to treatment twice now, and it's scary and it's hard to deal with, but I think that myself, but I think it's important for everyone to be able to start a conversation. I've had multiple people reach out to me since I've started talking about it, and I've helped people into treatment. I've helped people get really good therapists. I've helped people admit that they need help, and it's accomplishing to know that, like, I'm not just helping myself, but I'm helping other people too, because you realize that we are making a difference. Like, even we're only making a difference in Upper Dublin, it's starting small, but it's helping more people than we did before, and I think that's really important.
I was just going to say that, like, a message that I try to say to the boys and girls that I've spoken to the sophomores about is that, well, first, that for the girls, something that I've learned just throughout this process of being a girl in high school and growing up is that, especially pertaining to eating disorders or even anxiety and depression, your standard of comparison should only ever be yourself. The only person you should ever try to outdo or compete with is yourself, because you only will ever be yourself. And so if you're dissatisfied with that, or you think that you need to be better, then become the best version of yourself. But to compare yourself to other people or to what you see in the media, it's just not real, because you're never going to get there, and you're going to feel like you're not complete, or like you're not, like you're failing, because you are just you. And if you can find a reason that that's perfect and that that's good enough, that you're you, you're going to feel so much better. Because to envy someone else or to be jealous of the way someone else looks or someone else's life, a boy or a girl, it's just such a wasted emotion when you have no idea what their story is or what goes on behind closed doors. And I had someone come forward to me through this process who said, you know, again, they never would have imagined I had a mental disorder, and said that they had looked up to me for so long, and, you know, said, like, they actually said, like, I always wanted to be you. And I looked at them and I was like, you want to be me? I'm nuts. Why would you ever want to be me? And you look at other people, you think they have it all, you think they're flawless, you think their body's perfect, but you don't know how much time they put into it. You don't know the voices in their head that I wouldn't wish it on anyone else. And it's a struggle that goes on every day. And so for girls, it's just so important that you find contentment and peace with just loving who you are. And what I try to get across to the boys is that you don't realize the power or the weight of what you say and the one-liners you say or the phrases you say or the comments you make. You don't realize how much they stick in a girl's head and how much they might play over and over again, or how much impact that's going to have on someone. And the example I use is that I met someone, again, through this process, who went to overnight camp, and they were perfectly normal body weight before they went. And they came back, and they were a little bit chubbier, but they were still fine. And their dad said to them, oh, you must have really loved the food at overnight camp, I can tell. And it ended up making her spend 6 weeks in a rehab facility getting treated for an eating disorder. Now, to me, that comment might have been like, I might have brushed that off and been like, yeah, I like the food, whatever. But you don't know when you make a comment like that, you don't know if you're saying it to someone who is totally secure, never contemplated their body, they think they look great, and they would have brushed it off and it would have literally meant nothing. Or if you just said that to someone who's extremely insecure, suffering with their body, and suffering with how they perceive themselves, and that comment was just enough to tip them over the edge. And you don't want to be that person. You don't want to bear the guilt of making someone go down a path that you would never want them to go down. So if we can be aware of the people around us, and that everyone's fragile, and that everyone has backstories and things that are going on in their head that aren't visible to the eye, that you can't see. Like, just because I might look healthy now doesn't mean that any part of my disorder is any less going on in my head than it was when I came back sophomore year. Just because you can't see that someone's suffering from a mental disorder doesn't mean it's going on. And it can't be fixed like a broken arm can, or something that's physical. It's something that has to be worked on and that you have to accept you're going to go through for the rest of your life. And so if you could just be, as a society, conscious of that and cognizant that there are special people around you who have a voice to be heard, and their struggle won't be visible, but if we could just keep in mind that there is a visibility to it, and like change our attitude a little bit to keep in mind that these people are out there and are surrounding us, and they're just as successful as us, they're just as athletic, they're just as artistic, they sing just as well. If we can just keep in mind that those people might have hidden demons as well, then I think everyone will be better off, because just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there, or just because they look like they've stabilized or act like they've stabilized doesn't mean they're still not fighting that battle every single day.